It's 10 a.m. Thank you to Tommy Sandu and the breakfast team. You're listening to Nahal. This is the phone-in show. Now, what does every good Asian parent want their daughter or son to be? Probably a doctor. But is that the case anymore? Will what's going on now between the junior doctors and the health secretary and the government put Asians off from becoming doctors? It's always been a career, of course, that Asian families have aspired towards. You perhaps are a doctor listening now, and my gosh, your parents almost exploded with pride when you became a doctor. Couldn't wait to go to every wedding and family gathering and religious ceremony and whisper in a relative or friend's ear that your son or daughter is now a doctor. But has that changed? If you're a parent with young children now, do you think actually becoming a doctor is nothing to aspire to? It looks just not worth the hassle. 81869 on the text, email nahal@bbc.co.uk or call 08459 440 445. Will what's going on now put Asians off becoming doctors? You can tell me after the news with Paul Hawkins.
Thanks, Nahal. Good morning. Our top story, a UN task force will deliver humanitarian aid across Syria following a breakthrough in international talks last night in Germany. A target was also set to achieve a ceasefire within a week. Salem Al-Mazlet is the spokesman for the main Syrian opposition coalition.
We welcome the effort that our friends are making to relieve the Syrian people and must be for all Syrians. We must see action on the ground. If we see action and implementation, we will see you very soon in Geneva.
New measures to tackle the pay gap between genders have been unveiled by the government. Companies with more than 250 employees will have to publish the differences in salary between men and women. Businesses failing to address the problem will be named and shamed in league tables. The Women and Equalities Minister is Nikki Morgan.
Employers won't want to be near the bottom of the league table for having a wide gender pay gap. They will be thinking, therefore, how do we make sure that we eliminate that gender pay gap and make sure that actually we are getting women towards the top of our workplaces and into higher earning jobs.
Elsewhere this morning, the partner of Sian Blake has been arrested by police on suspicion of murdering the ex-EastEnders actress and their two sons. Arthur Simpson Kent was arrested at Heathrow Airport after arriving from a flight from Ghana. Miss Blake and her sons, aged 8 and 4, were found buried in the garden of their home in Kent in January. Some leading NHS chief executives have distanced themselves from the government's decision to impose a new contract on junior doctors in England. They say the pay offer is fair, but they don't support forcing the contract on them. Jeremy Hunt is the health secretary.
When you impose a contract, which is the last thing anyone wants, you can impose anything you like because it's, by definition, you've moved beyond the process of negotiation. I actually chose to impose a position which moves a long, long way to address the concerns that the BMA and many other people have expressed to me. It's a good package for doctors.
There's loads more coming up with Nahal on that. British soldiers have visited a school in Leicester to improve relations with the Asian community. They were joined by the Minister of State for Defence, Earl Howe. He says the armed forces wants to recruit more ethnic minority youngsters. The majority of children at Crowns Hill Community College are Asian. This pupil says her views of the army have now changed.
There's a massive stereotype about army just being about killing people. They're not usually portrayed in a good light. I think today it was like everyone's really friendly and their ultimate goal is just to all work together no matter what background we're from and just to protect.
And the England footballer Adam Johnson has been sacked by his club Sunderland after pleading guilty to 1 count of sexual activity with a child and 1 charge of grooming. His £60,000 a week contract was cancelled by the club last night, while sponsors Adidas have also dropped him. He's due in court today, charged with 2 further counts of sexual activity with a child, which he denies. Fourth one-dayer between England and South Africa gets underway at 11:30 this morning in Joburg. The visitors are looking to seal a series win. They're 2-1 up in the 5-match series. And South Africa will be playing in pink to mark World Cancer Day. They'll also be pink wickets. Joe Root can't wait for it.
Something that I've not experienced before, and the banging on the tunnel when you're walking out to bat, and sold out with it being the pink game here. So, yeah, it's really exciting to be a part of that, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out there and hopefully making some runs again.
India also looking to level their 3-match series with Sri Lanka when the second T20 gets underway at 2 this afternoon. And Pakistan are batting in their Under-19s Cricket World Cup match against England. England all out for 264. In reply a short time ago, Pakistan were 261 for 3 with 7 overs to go, so they've probably won it by now. You're up to the latest news and sport. We'll have more for you at 11.
BBC
Asian Network.
It is 5 minutes past 10. You're listening to Nihal on the BBC Asian Network. Paul, thank you very much indeed for the news and sport. So, well, what's going on now in the news put Asians off from becoming doctors? A starting salary of around £27,000, which is less than your average accountant, banker or lawyer. That's how much you get paid at the start. Saturdays as part of the normal working week. A limit of 72 hours working each week. Now, we know more about the structure, the hours and the pay of junior doctors than we ever did before. So, after discovering that perhaps as a profession, it's not all it's cracked up to be, do you think now that Asian parents will put less pressure on their kids to become doctors? Is it no longer seen as an aspirational form of employment? What do you think? Are you someone perhaps who's thinking about doing medicine at university and you've been put off by this dispute between the BMA and the government? Perhaps you feel as though the government doesn't care about junior doctors, doesn't value the profession. Or perhaps you feel that it's just not worth the hassle. The hours seem too long for not enough remuneration. Or perhaps money is not the issue. It never has been, it never will be. It's about a calling, and it's still held in high esteem to be a doctor in the Asian community. In fact, it is the #1 career choice that your parents want for you, and perhaps you want for yourself. So what do you think? Has what's been going on in the news over the past months and couple of years, in fact, put you off the idea of becoming a doctor? 81869 is the text. Email nihal@bbc.co.uk or give us a call. Here's the number.
Call 08459 440 445.
फिर selfie ले ले रे बंदा मैं सीधा साधा ना तेरा ना तीन में मेरे जैसा ना होगा चांद पे ना चीन में किया वही जो मन को आया पर कभी किसी का भी दिल ना दुखाया पवन पुत्र हनुमान जी की भक्ति में हूँ लीन में तेरा करता बड़ी बड़ी कोई न मारूं कड़ी कड़ी मैं मस्ती मस्ती में ही मस्त हूँ दुनिया देखे खड़ी खड़ी रहता हूँ मैं बस बजरंग बली जी की धुन में ही सदा दिल बड़ा रखते हैं जैसे हनुमान जी की हो कथा जैसे हनुमान जी के सीने में तुमको सियापति राम मिलेंगे सीना चीर के देखो मेरा तुमको हनुमान मिलेंगे फिर भैया ले 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 रे ले 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 दो तीन भैया बोले नहीं तो अपना पराया तो मिले
It's 11 minutes past 10. You're listening to Nihal on the BBC Asian Network. Now, once it was the aspiration of all Asian parents for their kids to become doctors, wasn't it? Isn't that folklore? Isn't that the fairy tale for every Asian parent? That they can walk into a room with their peers and say, my son, my daughter is a doctor. Job done. Envious glances around the room. But is that the case anymore? With, of course, the recent goings-on between the Health Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, and the BMA, we've seen doctors go out on strike. We've seen a steady stream of them, all pretty young things, appearing in front of our TV screens, telling us just how tough a job it is, and there's no doubt it is a very tough job. So has it taken the shine off it? Is it no longer a career to aspire to? The hours are simply too long, the pay too little. Even though, of course, they have just received or been offered, or indeed are going to have imposed upon them, a 13% pay rise. I don't think anywhere else in the public sector you'll be seeing a 13% pay rise. So is this about patient safety, as the BMA argue, or is it about actually working weekends and not getting paid for it, or not getting paid enough for it? Is it the case that, now that you've found out that junior doctors, when they start, don't get paid very much money, and even after potentially 10 years of being a junior doctor and going through all the training and education that you still have to continuously do, you still don't get paid that much money compared perhaps to other professions? So why do it? Is it no longer an aspiration? Let's speak to Kunal Thakkar. He's a dad. Kunal, hello.
Hi, Nihal.
Would you want your daughter to go into medicine?
Definitely not. I think, as you said, some time ago, becoming a doctor was a really prestigious thing, and every Indian parent wanted their son and daughter to become a doctor, and I definitely wouldn't. Who would want their kids to work long, unsociable hours, with people, public that, aren't probably the nicest, could be drunk, under the influence of drugs, have no respect for doctors. But there's no way I'd want my child to study for 6 years and then come out to be paid the same as a manager at a sandwich shop.
Kunal, stay with us. Sidra Hussain is a final year med student at UCL, having transferred there from Cambridge. Sidra, good morning.
Good morning, Nihal.
Thanks for tweeting me. I thought your tweet was very, very interesting. You've just heard a dad who has... Kunal, how old is your daughter?
She's actually 2.
2 years old, OK. That's interesting, no, because, Asian aspirations start or even before that. So 2 is not too young. Sidra, how does it make you feel when you hear a dad of a 2-year-old daughter saying there's no way I'd want her to go into medicine? Do you understand why he thinks like that?
Yeah, I can understand it, but I think it's actually really worrying and quite an upsetting thing that we started to notice in light of the contract dispute. I think, medicine's always been known to be a long road. People know it's hard hours. People sign up for that. I remember when I was deciding what to study, I decided to do it because I wanted to help patients and I wanted to make a difference. But I think there's only so much that people can take. I think the current contract proposals, they're, really bad news for training in the UK, and, for the doctors here, they'll be overworked, they'll be underpaid, and, that isn't safe. And I don't think it's...
Sorry, so how can you be underpaid? It's going to be a 13% pay rise.
Yes, but unfortunately, the overtime that we currently get is applied as a fraction over the whole salary. So in total, this nominal pay rise on the basic will actually amount to a pay cut for the majority of people, especially those working in A&E and the more antisocial hours specialties, which are going to be worst hit by this.
But aren't you having the maximum amount of hours you can work reduced from 90 to 72?
I think the problem with that is, although I think that's a noble ambition that the Health Secretary has outlined, where will these extra doctors come from unless you're going to spread out the doctors you have from Monday to Friday over the 7 days while we've already got a recruitment crisis? The problem is it's not going to be safe. You'll just have less doctors every day of the week as opposed to actually bringing Saturday staffing levels up to the levels of Monday or Tuesday, for example.
And the reality is, if you've got a patient in the bed in extreme pain screaming, are you going to go home and leave them to it?
No, that's the thing, isn't it? You're not going to look at your watch, are you, Sidra, and say, right, I'm off, I'm out.
Yeah.
So
as a medical student, I'm already doing that. I help the doctors on the wards. I would always stay above and beyond. And I have exams coming up, but I still go in on placements. It's very difficult. This is a very long-term commitment. I'm in my 6th year now, so.
So, Sidra,
this wouldn't happen in any other industry now. This is the thing. But, if this happened in a business or a corporate environment, trade unions would be involved. There would be solicitors, taking...
Well, the BMA is involved. That is their trade union. I mean, but Sidra, do you regret it? Are there times when you think, why did I do this?
I think I chose to do it for the patients ultimately, and it was altruistic reasons. But I think that, my younger sisters, they saw how hard I've been working, and both of them chose not to do medicine at university. And, they feel as though they've made the right decision. And I can see lots of people deciding to make that decision in the future. And it's terrible for, Asian people who going into medicine was a great way of diversifying the workforce. I think it's going to really set us back, and we'll go back to the old days of, just male, white, middle-class doctors, who we can't even relate to anymore.
That's interesting. By the by, what are your sisters studying at uni?
So one of them did geography at university and is now currently working for KPMG, training to be an accountant. And the other one decided to do natural sciences at university, so and now she's majoring in chemistry. So, I mean, both of them very bright, had the grades, but decided, and this was before the contract changes, but it was just too hard work, very long, 6 years it's been now. And as it is, it's quite a difficult career choice to make.
So your sisters were put off going into medicine even before these issues between junior doctors and the government?
Yeah, because I think that, as it is, you have to have very compelling reasons to want to do medicine beyond just, the money side of things or the long road in terms of training. I, signed up to it knowing full well that I would be training well into my 30s, for instance. But, you have to go into that with your eyes open and aware of that. However, I've spoken to lots of sixth formers who now just don't think it's worth it anymore, especially with the contract changes. In some ways, it's the final straw.
Let's speak to Dr. Kishan Rees, who's trains medical students. Dr. Rees, good morning.
Oh, morning. How you doing?
I'm very well, my friend. Can I ask you, I mean, you've heard now from Kunal, who's saying that there's no way he'd want his daughter to go into medicine. Yeah. She's currently 2, so he's got a little way to go.
I think that's part of the problem, though, to be frank, because, I mean, we need to be wanting... when Kunal said his daughter was 2, the question that I scribbled down became irrelevant, but I wanted to ask, would Kunal's daughter want to do medicine? Because if she would want to do it, and it's not parents forcing them into doing it, then they should be supported and encouraged and given all the information and then being allowed to make that decision.
But it's quite interesting that Sidra said her 2 sisters saw what she was doing and said, we're not going to do it, which it's not... My brother has seen what I was doing and he decided he didn't want to do it. It wasn't for him. He probably thought that beforehand, to be fair. So do you think...
It's not for everybody.
So do you think then it has changed then? Do you think that... Sidra, when you eventually, if you decide to get married and have children, that your aspiration for your kids won't necessarily be that they have to be doctors. Whereas, my parents' generation, and I guess your parents as well, and you're a lot younger than me, they thought that being a doctor was the number one kind of profession for you to do if you're an Asian. Do you think that's still the case, Sidra?
I think that, being a doctor comes with a lot of respect. People do still very much value the profession. I think the issue is, personally, I would never enforce a career decision upon my children. I would want them to make an informed decision. I'd want them to explore all the avenues they were interested in. But I think that the problem is that if doctors continue to be undervalued in this way, then we're going to have a situation where people won't even put being a doctor in their top 10, or, it will just become one of those careers that isn't worth the hassle, which I think is actually very dangerous in the long term.
Dr. Rees, do you agree with that?
Yeah, parts of it, absolutely. Yesterday was a bittersweet day for me in the sense that obviously the changes could be completely destructive to the NHS, and nobody's sure what's going on. But then the good part was two students, they're not Asian students, but Scarlett and Jacob got offers at Manchester. And still, the excitement that I had for them in terms of starting off in this journey, starting to become, medical students and then doctors, it's an amazing thing. And you've got a situation where things will go in cycles. 10 years ago, people said to me, don't apply to medicine, it's awful. Now, admittedly, the changes that happened yesterday are monumental, and I think the public need to know the patient safety issues that are related to that. And if we can't attract students into doing medicine, then you're going to struggle to provide excellent care. And that's the thing. I think, in terms of applications to medical school, they're not going down. If anything, they're going up. But that's the wrong question to ask. The question is, how many students, leaving medical school, go on and carry on working in the workforce, in the NHS workforce? And if you look at those numbers, they're not that many.
Well, they say that there are 5,000 doctors a year considering leaving the UK to emigrate abroad. That's what
I would have thought at least.
Pulse, I believe the in-house magazine for you guys, has said, and 4,700 per year for the past 2 years have left.
I think, the statistics we need to look at as well are the doctors that are applying for certificates of good standing, and certainly in the run-up to this dispute, they were having hundreds of applications, unfortunately people are, if the situation and the working conditions are such that, goodwill is completely lost, because a lot of medicine is dependent on people staying the extra hour. Like Sidra was saying, a patient in pain, she's a medical student, she's still there. This goodwill has been entrenched within the system for years, and this is basically a kick in the teeth in terms of the changes that have happened. So people will potentially say, well, you know what, it's a stressful job, it's difficult, we love it, and it's a privilege, but at what personal cost?
And this is where I think this will never happen in a corporate environment. In a corporate environment, people working 90-hour days, it go to HR, it get escalated.
Well, they'll potentially get remunerated. They'll potentially get remunerated more, but then again, medicine is not just about money. It's about it's about a vocation. It's about a privilege. But I agree, it wouldn't happen in a corporate situation or in a corporate world. I'm very fortunate. My medical degree that I paid for, and I came out of medical school with £26,000 worth of debt in 2009. That has opened doors into having a Masters of Medical Education funded. I'm currently having a Master of Business Administration funded by Lincoln County Hospital, a tiny district general. So, a medical degree is a good thing. However, the standard careers advice is you should not continue. You should carry on, continue training. And the message that I'd say to everybody, all medical students out there, and also anybody thinking of applying, is diversify. Keep a broad skill mix so that you are not boxed in and trapped in a situation you don't want to be in.
OK, well, look, let's speak to a junior doctor now, Dr. Duria Rabat, who's at Southampton Hospital. Dr. Rabat, good morning.
Good morning.
Do your siblings think of medicine as an attractive career choice?
So I'm in the fortunate position that I'm a junior doctor, so is my sister, and I have two younger siblings who are currently at medical school who are looking at the situation now.
Right.
And so they have, they went into it because they saw the passion with which myself and my sister did medicine, how much we actually enjoyed our first year of medicine, but now they don't think that it's worth it. And actually my younger siblings who are in their second and third year of medical school are thinking of diversifying, as your other guest has just said, and perhaps looking at other careers. when they graduate.
My gosh.
I think we need to do a lot in terms of getting the right people in at the beginning. And for too long, it's been, you're bright, you're clever, go and do medicine.
I would say that I don't think that's fair. Are the right people to be doing medicine? They're quite passionate about it. However, they are.
One second, Dr. Rees. Let Dr. Rabat finish her point. Go on.
Sorry, I was just saying they've seen the cost of it and they've seen the disappointing way in which the government's treating doctors.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a case of motivation. I think it's a case of them seeing where the future of medicine seems to be leading and being disappointed by it rather than anything.
Obviously, the government is arguing that a 13% pay rise. Now, anyone else in the public sector is looking at 13% pay rise and thinking, my gosh, I would love a piece of that. I would love to get even half of that. I mean, talk about inflation busting. And then, of course, the argument is that the government has given over to 90% of the demands of the BMA. Now, a compromise, a negotiation, does involve compromise on both sides, doesn't it?
No, yeah, but enforcing a contract is not. I mean, if we want to take the discussion onto that, I'm more than happy to.
But the BMA wants 100% of its demands, does it?
I'm not a BMA representative. I can't comment on the BMA. However, I think the way that this has been handled is disappointing, and the danger is you've got a whole generation of junior doctors that are about to get disenfranchised and talking about leaving, and then you will have people considering entering.
Can I ask any of you if you voted Conservative at the general election?
No.
Unfortunately, I didn't, and I regret it completely.
That's interesting. Sidra?
The first time.
No, I voted for Labour.
Okay, so you voted Labour, Dr. Rabat didn't vote Conservative, and you, Dr. Rees, you did vote Conservative.
I knew the Lib Dems wouldn't get in. I saw them as a moderating influence, and I think we're actually missing the Lib Dems as a moderating influence now. And they got completely hung out to dry in the coalition, and everybody is having a go at them about tuition fees. But I think we're actually seeing the amount of work that Nick Clegg did behind the scenes to kind of moderate this and stop this. And you know, I believe the rhetoric from the government about they didn't fix the roof when the sun was shining. And then subsequently I went on a media communications course, and I was gutted to find out that that's been a line that's been trotted out for years, and I fell for it, hook, line and sinker.
If I may speak, you made an interesting point about the 13.5% pay rise, about 90% of the demands being met.
Yeah.
But a really important point is that no one in medicine went in for the money, and the pay rise was neither here nor there. And I think the problem that the junior doctors have is, do you want a junior doctor who is tired and exhausted to be treating your family members at 9 o'clock on a Saturday? Do you think that's the same as, 10 o'clock on a Tuesday? The fact is that we get tired, we get exhausted, and in those conditions we're not safe to be treating patients.
But there is extra money, isn't there? If you work just 1 in 4 of those, whereas before it was 1 in 3, but there's extra money now if you do work 1 in 4, isn't there?
But that's not. So we didn't want. So the extra money isn't what we were arguing for. What we were arguing for was recognition of the fact that we get tired and we just cannot be working those hours.
But then, of course, that recognition has come into force by saying rather than your maximum being 90 hours, it's now 72 hours, and the fines for trusts that exceed that are going to go up. So that has been recognised by the government.
In a dubious way, because I think what they've said is they're going to appoint what's known as a guardian. Now, this guardian is a new figure that's never been in place before. The way in which you would escalate the fact that you're working extra hours, there's no real description of how that would happen. And they haven't explained how they're going to stretch an already stretched workforce from 5 to 7 days. So, but
it already is 7 days. If you're saying stretch from 5 to 7 days, with all due respect, how many of you came out and were all over social media with the hashtag I'm working Germany over the weekend? So you already are doing 7 days.
No, absolutely. So, and I'm currently working in A&E, and emergency services are certainly 7 days. However, elective practice isn't 7 days, and that's an important distinction to make. So elective practice, define that for those who don't know what that means. So an elective procedure is something that isn't life-saving, that won't make... So these are the operations that essentially were cancelled when you guys went on strike? Yeah, exactly. Right, OK. And they only happen Monday to Friday, do they? Now Saturdays as well, in some trusts, but mostly Monday to Friday.
Okay. And do you have an issue with them being moved over to weekends?
I don't think that it's a personal issue. I think it's a patient safety issue, because if you stretch out an already tired workforce over a longer period of time, they won't be at their best.
This is very interesting, because then you are essentially admitting that it is more dangerous for patients to go into hospital at the weekends, which is something, which is the whole basis.
Wait, let me say something. I think in terms of patient safety issues, I think admitting, there's been a lot of misrepresentation of statistics in the public domain about papers being misquoted, and I'm not going to go into that. But on the front line, I think improvements can be made at weekends. I think there could be more doctors, there could be more nurses, there could be more everything. And I heard a lady in Lincoln on the radio the other day, and I was heartbroken to hear that her husband had a pneumonia, a severe lung infection, came into hospital, and no doctor listened to that gentleman's chest over a weekend. And I've been in hospital at weekends, and I can believe that may well have happened. So we do need more staff, we do need more doctors, and we do need more nurses. The question is, how do we want to go about it? Do you want to try and force them into working a lot more for less, or do you want to make investment in the health service and get more doctors and more nurses?
So how would they be working more when the government is saying that the maximum amount of hours they can work is going to come down by 18 hours? How would they do that?
So in terms of the goodwill, I think what we need to remember is doctors will always stay on longer, and it's not about the pay, it's not about the hours that we do. We will always stay longer, okay? And there will always be... But
trusts would have to work out a way of that not happening, because the trust will be liable for bigger fines now if doctors are... If a doctor is seen to have been negligent because they have been overworked and the hours that they worked counted up has gone over the 72 hours, then that trust is going to be fined a lot of money, a lot of taxpayer money, weirdly enough, but
it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, and it's not, the trouble is, it's not as stringent as the fines that are in place now. I think that's the concern. And I think it was mentioned about guardians earlier, but it's not, it's a very woolly, it hasn't been defined clearly, it's not as concrete as the system that's in place now.
Okay, all right. Let's speak to Dr. Harshal Mesouria, and please stay with us, all of you. Again, a junior doctor. Dr. Mesouria, hello.
Hi, Niall. Hi, how are you doing?
Do you think Asian parents will now try and put their kids off from going to med school, whereas, of course, for decades, all they've done is try and persuade their kids to go to med school?
I'm not sure whether parents will be the ones who will be dissuading their children to join med school, actually. I feel that parents still believe that medicine is a profession that is very well regarded in society, and parents are always looking for their children to go into a profession that has that prestige. But I do think that teenagers and youth are able to make their own decisions more often now, and given these situations with the junior doctor contracts, I do think that teenagers and youth will make their own decisions to not join the medical profession based on what the government is proposing.
Well, it could be either way, couldn't it? They could decide to join or decide not to, and that's precisely my point. That's what it should be. That's not just for Asians, but any kid applying for medicine should make an informed, reasoned decision as to whether this is for them.
I think the difference being, though, Dr. Rees, the difference being, of course, is that for forever, Asian parents have put such a emphasis on medicine as being the kind of pinnacle of careers. Other communities may less so. Certainly, my wife. Friends that I grew up with, and I grew up in a predominantly white area, none of them had that aspiration. Whereas in my family, it was all doctors and lawyers. That's what it was all about. It's either becoming a lawyer or becoming a doctor.
Not radio presenters, then.
Well, alas, I disappointed them all by becoming a radio presenter. But I carry that cross around with me every single day.
I think another thing, can I just say, I think another thing we need to bear in mind is that currently the government, the tuition fees went up to £9,000 a year, And also, on top of that, the scrapping of maintenance grants that happened recently, this is going to really set back access to university and access to medicine, particularly as a much longer degree course. I think, we need to think about the bigger picture here in terms of trying to widen the talent pool and trying to, keep people who are the most motivated and the most suitable people, not the people with the greatest ability to pay for medical school.
Absolutely. I mean, I was a great beneficiary in terms of medical student numbers increasing. When the Labour government, very cleverly, they increased medical student numbers, but they didn't increase the jobs at the end. And one could argue that that's in terms of destabilising a workforce, flooding it. I was a great beneficiary of that. But we definitely need to widen access to medicine, and we need to make it. My fear is that it's almost as if we're kind of pulling the ladder up on the people behind us. And my fear is that the BMA is potentially going to sell out a whole generation of medical students by agreeing to, there's something about, in terms of this pay protection, it'll be okay for 3 years. And then all the kind of doctors that are around, and they're very kind of vociferous at the moment, will quiet down and say, okay, well, fine, my pay's protected, that's fine. But it's more than that. It's about it's about not selling out a generation of people wanting to apply to a great profession, which medicine is.
Well, but is it? I mean, this is the whole basis of the question. Is that it isn't. I understand that we all need doctors. Absolutely, we do. But in terms of arguing it's a great profession, is it anti-social hours for not that much money? Why do it? I mean, we already heard from Sidra Hussain, who was saying that her two sisters have just looked at her life and gone, I don't want any of that for me. One's gone to work for KPMG. Good grief, if you choose accountancy over any profession, you know that it's not going particularly well. I should know, my brother's a chartered accountant. Dr. Rabat, did you want to say something?
Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately, a good friend of mine said to me the other day, so why do you still do medicine? For myself, and it is unfortunate that we're victims of our own job satisfaction. It is unfortunately a great privilege to be a doctor, and I go in every day and I love my job, and I will stay the extra hours because it is just so rewarding. And I don't think any job gives you that level of just the insight you have into patients' lives, the way that you literally make a difference. It's a fantastic profession to go into. And yes, there are other things that could be improved, and my own siblings don't know how enjoyable it can be. So we're looking into other avenues for their future profession, even though they're doing medicine now. But I don't think you can say that is it still a great profession. I think unfortunately it still is. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be held to ransom like this.
Okay, well,
of course it is. Yeah, I agree completely. Well said.
Okay, well, thank you very much to all four of you. 81869 is the text. Email nahar@bbc.co.uk. We've heard now from two junior doctors. We've also heard, of course, from someone who's a medical student currently at UCL. But I'd like to hear from parents. If you've got young kids, we heard originally from Kunal, who said that he wouldn't want his 2-year-old daughter to go into medicine. Is that the case with you? If you're a parent, you've got kids, perhaps you're not really bothered what they do as long as that they're happy. But do you think it's still an aspiration for an Asian to become a doctor? Is it still an aspiration or not? 38 minutes past 10. Tell me what you think. 81869 on the text. Email nahal@bbc.co.uk if you're studying medicine. If you decided to not study medicine because you saw the hours, because you saw the pay, and you thought, you know what, it's not for me. And why shouldn't you be? I mean, you hear lots of doctors say it's not about the money. Why shouldn't it be about the money as well? I mean, why would you go and work? You're not going to go and do it for free. You don't love it that much. Yes, of course, it is a valuable profession, and you should be remunerated for it. But is it the case that it's no longer the profession that it once was? And if you are a parent, get in contact with me, 81869 on the text, email nahal@bbc.co.uk, or give us a call on 08459 440 445. This text said, I'm a junior doctor. I'm very upset with Mr. Hunt. However, I love my job and would be more than happy for my son to be a doctor if he wants, but not in this country, and I'm planning to move back to India as well. Might as well be a shopkeeper with staff to ease the long hours and become a millionaire via property investment. These revenue streams go together extremely well. Hi now, just for anybody thinking of an IT career, I have on-call hours every 4 weeks, which is basically working the whole weekend, day and night, and recently did a 16-hour shift without breaks working for a major bank. This is the norm. Grass is not always greener. Thanks, Amar. Thank you very much indeed for sharing that. Hi Nihal, most doctors are highly intelligent, worked very, very hard, putting years of family and economic sacrifice to get into this profession. You're right, as many Asian parents desire into this profession. I guess it's because the profession brings respect, value, recognition, and of course uplifts the family economically. But I can see the disappointment in my family's eyes, especially my parents and wife. I worked long, long hours, nights, weekends. I had only one Christmas with family in 10 years. Struggle at the end of the month to make ends meet. Honestly, I'm not joking. My kids go to state school, live in a 3-bed semi and drive a second-hand $6,000 car. We can't afford for a holiday, and only holidays going to India to see family once every 2 years. NHS treats its doctors so badly. You don't get parking, pay is going down. Gosh, which developed country treats such an honourable profession like this? Many of my friends choose India to have any elective operators or gave their baby. Here is safe, can get good services there. Public has to decide and use common sense to see what damage this government is doing. I surely won't get my kids to practice medicine in this country, says Pradeep. Doctors are happy to do Monday to Friday, then will work out of hours private work to earn significantly more. Funny they aren't too tired to earn up to 1k more on a day as my colleagues do. Well, that's interesting. That's a very, very interesting point. I once heard someone say to me that doctors off the ward, now these are not junior doctors, they're consultants, but when they become consultants, my gosh, they earn a whole heap of money. And if they're doing private practice, they are earning hundreds of thousands of pounds, these individuals. And of course, recently we had on this show a whistleblower who said that she was essentially drummed out of the NHS for pointing out publicly that there were doctors, when they were supposed to be doing NHS shifts, were off doing private work, even though they'd signed on to do NHS shifts. So, I'm not saying, of course, that the whole profession is doing that by any stretch of the imagination, but these things do go on, and it seems as though, certainly in the case of the whistleblower that we spoke to, who, by the way, all her claims were proved to have been correct, she was treated like an absolute pariah. Anyway, in a bit, we're going to be speaking to Sal. Then after that, Ram Patel, who's in London, and also a pharmacy owner and parent, Shaheen Bhatia, who's a guest of mine. But join our conversation, because for so long, we've always been told that becoming a doctor is the one. Is that not the case anymore? Is it just too much hassle? It's just not worth it. You don't feel valued, the hours are too long, you make too many sacrifices, both socially and economically. As we found out from the doctor who just got in contact with us, who drives a $6,000 second-hand car and goes on holiday but just to India every 2 years. So, tell me what it's like out there. Tell me what it's like for you. If you're a parent with young kids, I've got, as you know, a 6 and an 8-year-old, would I want them to become doctors? They can become what they want to become. But they'll be warned about the hours beforehand. Luckily, my wife's best friend is a junior doctor, so they'll get the lowdown from her.
Loving every girl in the place right now. Place right now. I'm trying to find a girl I can take right now. Take right now. Loving every girl in the place right now. Place right now. I'm trying to find a girl I can take right now. Love women all around the globe. Show me where you at. Love women. If we get close, there's no holding back. Chick called Solace, 20 missed calls, I gotta call her. She only want me for the money though, and I was like, nah. All around, searching for an independent girl, someone that always holds it down, even when I'm not around. Bada tenu mangda, bas pyar tera hi ek labda, ek baari nazar mila. Girl, come on, so look into my love. Bada tenu mangda. Cause I'm waiting on for you. Loving every girl in the place right now. Place right now. I'm trying to find a girl I can take right now. Love women all around the globe. Show me where you nickname Tara. All she wanna do is bring drama. She said she want me to meet the family. I was like, nah, 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 nah. I like a woman that lays low. You get up on your feet when I say so. Red heels and red jeans. Make me wanna put you on my payroll. Girl, come on, look into my eyes. Cause I'm waiting on you. From Asia to the UK, from Dubai to the USA. I've been searching for the world. Show me where you're at, show me where you're at right now. I love women. Show me where you're at. Love women. Whoa. If we get close, there's no holding back. Puri duniya jithe bhi jaan, har paas tenu hi paava. Love women. I love women. Loving every girl in the place right now.
I know it sounds crazy. Priya Kalidas. It's a great excuse to get your friends together, have a party, have a chat.
Saturday afternoons.
On BBC Asian Network. I've got the gossip. I met him through a friend of mine out in LA, so it was great to see him on the show. Showbiz name, Lish Kumar. A panel of guests solving your dating dilemma.
Parents can say it is their duty. You don't have to listen.
And of course, everything from the world of Priya.
Definitely gonna have one of those.
Priya Kalidas.
Saturday afternoon from 1 on BBC Asian Network.
I think it sounds pretty good to me.
It is 47 minutes past 10. So, junior doctors versus the government. Has all of this drama put you off the idea of going to med school? Has it put you off the idea of studying medicine even at A-level, doing the biology, chemistry and physics and whatever you need in order to get into med school? Is it just not worth the hassle? Perhaps you've seen an older sibling studying, becoming a junior doctor, and it just doesn't look like the kind of thing you'd want to do. Sal got in contact with us. Sal, good morning.
Morning, Al.
Do you have any sympathy for the junior doctors?
I think my statement's more around the profession itself.
Oh, go on.
I used to be a non-executive director of a primary care trust,
right,
which were there before the reforms of the health service, before the clinical commissioning groups came in, sort of thing.
Right.
And being a non-executive director, we used to look after the whole budgets for the hospitals as well as the primary care, etc.
Right.
So a bit of understanding around that particular area.
Okay.
However, my point is, I was with a friend doctor a couple of weeks ago, just out for something to eat, because the local paper came out with a performance indicators, as in which practice is performing best from a GP surgery perspective. So it's not about junior doctors. I'm talking about GPs here, sort of thing.
Okay.
And we're just talking about satisfaction, etc. Now that's something that I sort of I wouldn't use the word fought for, but it's something that I raised when I was a non-exec director of PCT. So it's to say, in the same way, when you're choosing a school for your child, you have some sort of indicators to say which are the best performing schools. You should have something similar for GP practices.
Okay.
You know, so you can make an informed choice.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, I was shooted down, sort of thing, because they didn't, they thought it was too sort of sensitive, etc. But at the end of the day, it's public sector money, and also people can make informed choices. However, going back to the story there, I was my friend who's a doctor a couple of weeks ago. He was saying that there are some doctors who are GPs. And, they run their GP practices, but then after 6 o'clock or whatever, instead of looking after all their own patients within the GP practice, they'll go out and do sort of out-of-care GP sort of contracts.
Right.
They're actually earning, and he was saying to me, it's unbelievable, he was saying, on top of their sort of GP salaries, they're earning another 40, 50 grand a year, with that, not looking after their own patients who are on their patient lists, but going for these other contracts.
Well, this is the
where
point.
They sort of lock them in.
Well, so this is the point that this previous texter made, which said doctors are happy to do Monday, Friday, then will work out of hours private work to earn significantly more. Funny they aren't too tired.
Yeah.
Funny they aren't too tired to earn up to 1k more a day as my colleagues
Exactly.
do.
Yeah. And this is not even private work. This is the NHS paying for the out of hours care. for GP and he was saying that and again, this was not making it into sort of a kind of racial issue, but he was saying, I work in an English practice, and this guy's an Asian. He was saying, my English doctors are saying, what are these Asian doctors doing? They're going out and earning another 40, 50k on top of their salary, GP sort of salaries. And he said they're like, they're supposed to take them back. I said, why are they not looking after their own patients and doing this? And again, not trying to personalise this, I come from a family where my brother-in-law's a doctor, his brother's a doctor, so I know the sort of profession. And, when he was law coming, he was like £1,200 a day. Law coming. Wow. And also with the junior doctors as well, I think it's an element of they're being tied down where, they're getting paid their contractual hours. However, when it was overtime, the additional hours, they were getting lucrative sort of sums of money. Like I said, maybe I'm misunderstanding.
So do you think this is about money? This isn't about patient care? You think this is about money?
Well, come on. Ultimately, every profession, obviously there is elements of care, etc., and I'm not denying that. I'm not, saying to anybody who's saying that they're doing it for care full stop, because I'm not questioning their sort of integrity here. But, which doctor I'm talking about doctors that I know, who drive nice cars, live in a sort of plush area, affluent area. Those are the doctors that I know.
Right. Yeah, well, but it's interesting. We also got an email in from a doctor who said he wouldn't want his kids to practice medicine in this country. He said the NHS treats its doctors so badly. He said, my kids go to a state school, live in a 3-bedroom semi, drive a second-hand car. We can't afford a holiday. Only holidays going to India to see family once in 2 years. So he's hardly swimming in the money.
Well, okay, I'm not questioning that at all, but I'm talking about the doctors that I know, and they didn't do it too bad. But also the other point that I like to make is around, why do Asian people aspire for their sort of children or siblings to go into that profession? I think there's a number of reasons. One is prestige, etc. But also, I think we want our children to go into professions where, at the end of their studies, there's a job for them, a career for them, and arguably for the rest of their lives, And classic example, I know it's again going personal, but my son's currently in year 11, and he had his college interview, and he's doing the A-levels around sciences, etc., and he's luckily a bit of an all-rounder. So we're driving back, and I said to him, what would be your ideal job, where money wasn't an issue, you could basically do whatever you want, and you had no pressures of life, etc. And he said to me, something, I just love to write novels.
Right.
I just love to write novels.
Would you rather he was a doctor?
No, he's actually going down that route of doing the sciences. So
do you think that it's changing and that Asian parents will no longer consider being a doctor as the number one profession? No,
I think that will still be the case.
Right.
Unless, like I said, for example, and again, I'm not mocking anybody at all. Okay, we had somebody earlier whose sister is currently being a doctor.
Yeah.
However, seeing her hours and the commitment she was making, she decided to do geography at uni.
Yeah.
And then now working for KPMG as an accountant.
Yeah.
Now that baffles me. Okay, because you had somebody who said they want to do a degree in geography. Okay.
Yeah.
And now they're working for KPMG doing accounts.
Yeah, but I mean, I did a history degree,
exactly.
And I'm a broadcaster at the BBC. Yeah, it doesn't really, it doesn't carry that if you do a degree like geography, or that you would go and be someone who draws maps or something. I don't know, or a surveyor or something. You don't necessarily.
What I'm saying to you is, when you're making when she was making that decision to do geography, I'm sure, and again, I don't want to personalise this, she wasn't thinking, I want to work for KPMG.
No, but I guess, but we're going to have to leave it there. But Sal, thank you very much indeed. But I guess, of course, that it's a more stable career with the hours are better. Let's speak to Ram Patel after that. Shaheen Bhatia, who's a pharmacy owner. Ram got in contact with us and is a second-year med student. Ram, hello.
Hi there.
Are you regretting it?
I don't think I'm regretting medicine as a career.
I'm thinking about leaving the country to work instead of working for the NHS because of the recent contract changes.
Okay.
I think even being second year, 3 years away from graduation, yesterday when the news broke that Jeremy Hunt was going to impose a contract, you can see many people just going online looking at different countries, routes into different countries. I even searched up US licensing exams and things like that. So if at the end of the day, the NHS, a recent figure said that they were spending £350,000 per junior doctor in their education, it's a huge waste of money for the taxpayer for them to be leaving the country, leaving the NHS.
I mean, but you're going to take all of that training that's provided for by the British taxpayer and export it to another country. I mean, that shouldn't be allowed. If you're planning on doing that, then you should start paying for it yourself.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, 350,000 is a massive figure for the NHS to be paying into each junior doctor, and if they are leaving, surely they should be doing something about that. They shouldn't be promoting people to leave, and these junior doctor contracts are essentially doing that because junior doctors are demoralised.
But we are hearing, aren't we, certain doctors in certain parts of medicine who can earn huge amounts of money doing private practice on top of their NHS hours, and they don't seem to be too tired to do that.
But the vast majority aren't able to do that. How big is private practice in the UK? It's not very large at all. It's really difficult to get into, and most doctors will have to work for the NHS anyway.
Well, I guess it depends what speciality you go into. If you go into dermatology, for instance, you'd probably do all right, wouldn't you? If you can administer certain cosmetic surgery procedures, then you'll probably do all right as well.
Yeah, but as a junior doctor, you're looking at the whole career in general.
What will you specialise in, Ram?
No idea yet.
Okay.
No idea.
Well, good for you. Good for you. Was it something that your parents were really keen on you doing, or was it very much 100% your choice?
A bit of both. So my parents always pushed it, but only because I, from a young age, wanted to go into medicine.
Would you push it for your kids one day if you have kids?
Looking at it at the moment, no, not really.
Okay.
Working in the NHS, I mean.
Right.
If I were to move to another country and maybe the medical system would be better, then yes, then medicine as a career is rewarding and it is fruitful.
Okay. Well, Ram, thank you very much indeed. Let's speak to Shaheen Bhatia, pharmacy owner and parent. Shaheen, good morning.
Good morning, Nahal. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for joining us, Shaheen.
Yeah, thank you.
Would you encourage your kids to become doctors?
Not well, as I said, not from the point of view as in because of the money or the prospects. My children are actually 27 and 25, and I've had my own pharmacy now for almost 30 years. So if I was going to, obviously, if I felt that way inclined, I would have asked them to do it and sort of follow my steps and take the business over as such. And in those days, in fact, pharmacies were earning a lot more than they are now, because we've got the same problems as junior doctors, although it's not highlighted as much, because 95% of our income actually does come from the NHS. So we've got, a lot of sort of quite lowly paid pharmacies as well. Same thing, and as I said, in our profession, we've got 5 years, and then they do start off, as I said, maybe slightly higher than a junior doctor, but the trouble is they don't actually earn that much more, perhaps, in their career unless they sort of work up as well. So I have obviously all these conversations with my sort of pre-reg students all the time, because I see a lot of them. I see parents coming in saying, is it a good career? Because they sort of think, oh, well, if they can't do medicine, they can do pharmacy because it's easier. And I said, well, it actually isn't. And it's just as hard, and it's not about the money. And if you think you're going to make a lot of money, please forget it from the word go.
Okay, Shaheen, we've run out of time, but thank you very much indeed for sharing those thoughts with us, that people who are not going to medicine perhaps will go into pharmacy. Wow.